Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Women Winning Wednesdays. I'm your host, attorney Elsa W. Smith, and the owner of the law offices of Elsa W. Smith, where our mission is to empower women through estate planning. Through our amazing guests and our educational content, my hope is to bring you not only information to empower and uplift you, but to give you the tools to win. Today's episode is rather timely considering that everybody seems to be getting on planes, trains, and automobiles going on vacation. Our topic today is estate planning must-dos before going on summer vacation. And for those of you taking notes, there will be 9 of them that I cover. I was originally going to start with 8, but another one came to mind, so I decided to add that one too. So we have 9. So let's get right into it. Whether it's a transatlantic flight to Europe, a long weekend in the Caribbean, a long-awaited road trip, or a random accident can happen while you're traveling. And the what ifs become a reality, sadly. And when they do, you want to have peace of mind that your family will not be left to clean up a mess of legal matters, because unfortunately that's something that needs to be addressed. So let's get started. And number 1, let's put that on the screen. Number 1, have a completed and up-to-date estate plan in place before traveling. If you don't yet have a completed estate plan before beginning your travels this summer, use the trip date as a deadline to have those documents completed. There are risks, of course, involved whenever you travel. And although there's a chance that of something happening, the percentages may be slight. It's better to be over prepared than not prepared at all. For example, ask yourself, does my estate plan include incapacity documents? An advance directive, for example, protects your medical treatment preferences in case of incapacitation. Another document, if those of you who follow me know, a power of attorney, that establishes an attorney in fact who is authorized to make financial and legal decisions on your behalf. Now, if you already have an estate plan in place, review the plan to ensure that all of your preferences are current. An estate plan should be revised whenever a significant life change occurs. And depending on who you listen to, it includes the 5 Ds of estate planning. There are probably more, but the Ds are disability, divorce, decline. And when we say decline, we're talking about decline in your health, dissolution. And here we're talking about dissolution of your business if you have one, and death. And that is a death of a family, friend, or a beneficiary in your estate plan. And now let's move on to number 2. Review your trust and beneficiary designations. My clients know that I beat the drum on this from pretty much from the moment they become a client all the way through. For many, the main motive behind estate planning is to ensure that their loved ones will be taken care of when they're no longer around. It's important to check and then double check that your beneficiaries are up to date. And also, likewise, it's important to make changes to your estate plan if a beneficiary has died or if your preferences change regarding the beneficiary designations. And by the way, it's okay to have a change of mind. If you have a living trust, make sure that it is properly funded and that assets are properly titled into the name of the trust. This will prevent assets from being controlled and dispersed by the court in the event that, say, a beneficiary is a minor or becomes incapacitated. Failing to properly set up a trust can result in unnecessary time and court costs for your surviving heirs. So that's number 2. Now let's move on to number 3. Review and update your insurance. Listen, before you travel, of course, is an excellent time to do this. Check the amount of your life insurance coverage and see if it still meets your family's needs. Consider getting long-term care insurance to help pay for costs of extended care. And it also is going to help to preserve your assets for your family. Now, having said that, I realize that long-term care insurance is not getting any cheaper. That's just a fact of life. Why? Because people are living longer. And a lot of these companies underestimated how long people are actually going to live. So they've had to make some changes. And unfortunately, it's resulted in a lot of premium increases for their customers. So bear that in mind. And the earlier you can get in on long-term care insurance, the better. And that's all I'll say on long-term care. I am not an LTC expert, but I do know enough to give you that bit of guidance. Get it early if you can, and if it applies in your situation. Number 4, review and update your update incapacity documents. We mentioned this a little while ago. Everyone in your family over the age of 18 needs to have these documents. A healthcare power of attorney, and that gives another person legal authority to make healthcare decisions for you if you are unable to make them yourself. 2, a living will, and that describes what type of life support treatment you want and for how long. 3, a Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, also known as a HIPAA waiver and authorization. That document gives written consent for healthcare providers to discuss your healthcare information with others, including family members. After all, you never know what you will need until you need it. So you should use the time you have now to plan for all of life's what ifs, again, particularly before you travel. Let's move on to number 5. Consider a standby guardianship. A standby guardianship is a standby guardian, I should say, is a person appointed by a parent of a child to take care of the child in the event that the parent, in this case, for purposes of this video, is the traveling parent, becomes deceased, mentally incapacitated, debilitated by an illness or injury, or subject to an adverse immigration action. Okay. Guardianship, let me be clear, does not constitute custody. So at least one parent must consent to the appointment of a standby guardian. A parent may revoke or cancel their consent to the standby guardianship at any time. And parents do not lose their parental rights at any time. So again, if you have minor children, something to consider. Now let's move on to number 6. Organize your accounts and documents. This is an important task, right, to complete before you travel. And because it's going to make things a lot easier for those who you've chosen to handle your affairs for you should anything happen to you. So you're going to make a list of all of your accounts, where they're located, the usernames and the passwords. Then review that list and update it before every trip, right? Print a hard copy in case your computer is stolen or it crashes, heaven forbid. And let someone that you trust know, where to find it. Clean up your computer desktop. I got this advice from, reading different blogs and stuff online on this, but clean up your computer desktop and put your financial and other important files where someone can easily find them. Right? No one, I've been guilty a number of times of having a cluttered desktop. But before you travel, kind of group all those things together and put the important documents somewhere where a trusted person can easily access those documents if necessary. The average person, from what I've read, has well over 20 digital accounts. I have far more than that. But anyway, I digress. So these are accounts with email, social media, photo sharing, and anything that's like file storage in the cloud. So consider using a service like LastPass or like similar software to store and to organize your passwords. Moving on to the next one. Let's see. Keep important documents accessible. Now, today the internet and the cloud may have made it so that there may not be a physical paper trail for even some of our most important documents. And while going paperless may be easier, maybe more convenient in the short term, it can cause great difficulty for your loved ones back home if tragedy strikes while you're abroad or just out of the country on vacation. And without special planning, your loved ones are going to be left scrambling to locate these documents. And it makes it even more difficult if these documents are in the cloud, nobody has passwords, usernames, and it's just one big mess. So here's an alternative. There are clients, people that I know that have their important documents in a fireproof safe, their physical documents in a fireproof safe at home. Make sure that a trusted person knows where those documents are located, and if necessary, give them, the combination or a key in order to gain access to that safe. Then moving right along to number 8, home stretch. Let's establish a care plan for your pets. Those of you know that I have a rescue dog. His name is Doc. And you knew that I was going to say something about the care of your pets. I am an avid dog lover. So to provide complete protection for your fur or feathered baby in the event of your incapacitation or death, consider a pet trust. Now, you might be thinking that having a trust for your pet is unnecessary. For your human loved ones, will certainly take care of them on your behalf. Now, while your friends and family members may be okay with looking after your 4-legged or 2-legged friend during your week-long vacation, they might not be willing or financially able, to step into your shoes doing this job full time. Because those of us who have pets in our family, they are like family, and they're like children, and they're almost as expensive as kids. So keep that in mind, and that's one of the reasons why a pet trust is something that you might want to consider. With a pet trust, you can leave money to be used for the benefit of your pet, including their care and maintenance. Another major advantage of a pet trust is that it creates a legal obligation to care for your pet. In that trust document, you're going to name a designated caretaker for your pet. Leave detailed instructions for how their care and maintenance should be carried out, and name an individual to go to court to enforce the terms of the trust if necessary. If the court finds that the caretaker failed to follow the conditions laid out in this trust, or maybe use the trust money for something unrelated to your pet, the funds will go back to the pet owner's estate, and the guilty individuals can face serious legal consequences, right? And yet another advantage of a pet trust. And then finally, drum roll please, remember that there are special considerations for international travel. And let me pull those up. Oops, here we go. In addition to the estate planning tools that I've mentioned in this broadcast, there's other paperwork that you should have, in some cases must have, in order to travel internationally. Now, please check with the State Department. They usually have the most updated requirements, and also check with the appropriate officials in the country that you're traveling to for their requirements. So having said that, consider carrying the following with you on your trip. And that's an updated vaccination record, a copy of your marriage license, if applicable, a secondary photo ID in addition to your passport, proof of international health insurance, or health insurance that can cover you while you're traveling abroad, your child's birth certificate if you're traveling with your child, and any consents, travel consents that are necessary if you share custody with your child's other parent. So just a few things to keep in mind. Remember, while taking a well-deserved getaway should be enjoyable and an exciting experience, having a plan in place to protect yourself and your loved ones back home is essential to ensure that everything goes smoothly. Now, if you plan on taking a trip and you don't yet have a complete estate plan, as I said, use that departure date as a deadline. And after all, the gift of estate planning will be worth more to your family and friends than any t-shirt or souvenir or cute little figurine that you pick up while you're traveling. I want to thank you for tuning in to this episode of Women Winning Wednesdays. Before I go, I want to offer you a free will preparation checklist. This will help you think about the things that you should consider before you create a will. I want you to go to elsawsmithlaw.com, go to the resources tab, and you'll see the free will preparation checklist in the drop-down. If you need assistance with estate planning matters in the state of Maryland or the District of Columbia, and you want to have a strategy session, give us a call. I'm Elsa W. Smith, your Maryland estate planning attorney, saying thank you so much for joining us on another episode of Women Winning Wednesdays. I'll see you in my next video. Take care.